Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ikemji, and in today's tutorial I'll be learning how to make this bubu gown with stylish neckline. So if you're new to this channel, please do subscribe, like and share this video, and to my already subscribers, I really appreciate you. So let's get started. So to begin now, I will go ahead and fold my material into four because I'm going to be cutting the front and the back piece together. So I'll start by drafting the shoulder line, which is also known as the starting line. So after marking that, now I will determine my shoulder, and my shoulder is actually 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. So I'm just going to mark that there. And next I will do is to determine the sleeve length of my bubu gown, and what I'll be working with is 13 inches. But because of the style given, we have a band around the sleeve which is 2 inches. So I'm going to deduct 2 from 13 to give me 11. So I'm just going to mark 11 here for the Ankara so that 2 inches can then complete for the band. So next I will do is to determine how wide I want my sleeve to be, since it's a bubu gown. So I want it to be as wide as 14 inches. You can make your own lesser than that depending on how full you want your bubu to be. So I'm just going to mark that 14 there and mark it all through this dress with the help of my ruler. For a bubu dress, this line can actually be your bust line and can actually be your chest line because of how big your arm for the sleeve is. So next I'll go ahead to do is to determine my waistline. Although it's not really necessary, but for the sake of the tutorial, I'm just going to determine the waistline for us to understand. So after determining my waistline, I went ahead to connect that together, and next I will determine my hip line, which is actually 25 inches. So I'm just going to connect that down, and then the last vertical measurement I'll be taking is the full length of this dress. So it depends on you how full you want your length to be. So after I will connect that, I will also go ahead to add a folding allowance, which is maybe 1 inch or 2 inch depending on how big you want the folding to be, and I'll cut out any excesses. Next, I would begin to take my horizontal measurement, and I'm going to take the horizontal measurement starting from the bigger part of my body, which is actually the hip. So I'm just going to mark that there, and then next I will do is to add the allowance on how big I want my bubu to be. You can add 4, you can add 5, you can add 3, depending on how full you want the bubu to be. So I'm just going to replicate that measurement up that part at my chest line, and then extend it down to the full length of this dress, just as the way you see me do in this video. So next I'm going to do now is to get the armhole on the chest line. So I'll just label here the waistline, the hip line, and this is my chest line. So I'm just going to create a curvy point to meet at that waistline for my armholes. So next I'll go ahead to do is to go back to my starting line or shoulder line so I can draft out my neckline. So I'm going to be working with a width of 3 inches and a depth of 1.5 because I'm going to be cutting the front and the back together for the meantime. So I'm just going to sketch my curve line, and then I'll go ahead and be cutting out what I'll be needing for this tutorial. So I'm just going to carefully cut out what I'm going to be using for this tutorial video, and then I will simply go ahead to separate the back from the front so that I can draft out the neckline I want for the front alone. The next I did was to take my tape and place in this format. Remember that I already cut out 1.5, so I had to place my tape beginning from that 1.5 so I can take the measurement of my neck depth, which is actually 8.5 inches, which I marked there. So from that part of the neck, I'm just going to go in by 1 inch, and I'm just going to mark that there, and I'll connect that point to my shoulder point with a slanted line. So I'll just get my ruler and do that, and I'll simply go ahead to cut out this part. So after doing that, now I will spread that open, and this is what it basically looks like. So I'll simply go ahead and fold the down part of the dress, and then I will take the back piece of the dress, ensuring that the right sides are facing each other, and I'll go ahead and stitch the shoulder part down. And this is basically what you are going to have. As you can see, I've gone ahead to stitch the shoulder and folded the down part, and I'm going to open it now, and this is basically what you are going to have. So you see I did not stitch the sides yet because it's not yet time. So this is what you are going to have. Next I'm going to do is to actually get my band, and to get my band now, I'm going to take my tape and measure around my neck from this point to the other points. Ensure that the band you're going to be cutting is going to be longer than what you have measured. Then after stitching it down, you're going to cut out every excesses. So this is band I'm working with, and I made sure that it is long as possible. Let it not be less. It is a must that you make sure that it's nothing less than what you want. And I'm working with a width of 2 inches, although I have already folded half inches at both sides, which I'll be used to join my material to the band and also for my top stitching. So I'm just going to get the midpoint of my band now because I want to place it on my neck. So I'm just going to mark that, and then after marking that, I'm equally going to get the midpoint of my fabric for the neckline, which I have equally marked there. So I'm going to make sure that both of them are placed in that manner from the midpoint. So that is what you are supposed to do. You are not supposed to start the joining from the other side, but from the midpoint. So I will carefully use my pin to secure it down for easy stitching. And as you can see, I'm taking that round carefully, and you can see that I have excesses remaining, which I'm going to cut out after sewing everything. So I'm going to go ahead now and sew this whole part round and use this other part to stop stitch it to cover every rough edges. So after doing that, I'm going to take this excess part and flip it over to the back, and I'll equally flip the other side to the back as well. Ensure that you do this carefully so that everything can align smoothly and properly. And if you turn the back of this dress, you are going to see that this is how it's going to look like. That is why I said you have to ensure to align it properly so you can then top stitch this area so it can relax more. So you need to be patient while doing that. So for the sleeve part now, remember that I need a band of 2 inches, right, which is a black band, which I'll be working with. So I'll simply go ahead now and take my tape to measure the length of my sleeve so I'll know what I'll be cutting out for my band. And so here, these are the 2 bands I've already cut out for my sleeves, and as you can see, I decided to use the width of my band to be 5 inches. So I went ahead to fold one part here while I left the other parts free so that I can be able to join it together to my sleeve. And I'm going to put it this way: ensure that the right side of your band is facing the wrong side of your Ankara, so that by the time you are done sewing that place, just as I'm using my pin to secure it down for easy stitching, I'm going to use the other part that I folded down with iron, which is 1/2 inches. I'm going to then fold it on top of this part and top stitch it so that it can cover the rough edge that you're going to see there. So after that, I'm going to cut out any excesses that will be left there. So you can see now, after folding and joining, you are going to get 2 inches, which is actually what you need. So I'll go ahead and do it for the other sleeve. So this is basically what you are going to have. This is what the front view looks like, and this is what it looks for the sleeve. So I will simply go ahead now and cut out the excesses that I won't be needing in this tutorial video. And this is basically what you are going to have. So this is what the front equally looks like, and I've gone ahead to top stitch that front part of the v-neck. So I'm going to turn this over, and as you can see, the excesses that I have here, that's why I said you should ensure to cut your band longer than what you have measured for the neck, rather than having a shortage. So I've gone ahead to cut out the excesses, and this is basically what we have. So I'll just go ahead now and open the dress in this way so that I can introduce the design that I intend using for this style. So as you can see, I've already gone ahead to cut out a blocked form. So I will simply ensure that the midpoint of this design is facing the midpoint of my v-neck, both in line. And you can see I'm working with a length of 16 inches and with a width of 14 inches. You can make your own bigger, you can make your own wider, depending on how you want it. So for next thing you're going to do is to actually fold in here by 1/2 inch and top stitch it directly on this part, just as I'm doing for the neck. And then you do that for the whole side if you don't intend creating any other design on this. But for the sake of this style we are giving, I'm not going to make my own plain. I'm going to give my own a design, just as you see in that screen. There's actually a slanted design at the left side. So what I'm simply going to do is I'm just going to map out my midpoints in case you cannot see it very well. So at the left side, I'm going to go up by 6 inches there, and I'm just going to connect that point to the midpoint by a slanted line. So anywhere you want your design to be, or however you want to create it, is left on you. I can actually do that. So I'll simply go ahead now and cut this out, and then fold every side by 1/2 inches before top stitching. So here I've already used my iron to press that down to create that 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to ensure that the midpoint of my designed pattern, let me outline it very well so you can see it. So the midpoint of this pattern, I'm just going to place it directly at the midpoint of the Ankara. I've equally gone ahead to get the midpoint of this, just in case you cannot see it. I had to do that off camera, but you are just what you're going to do so that you can make your work very easy for you. So I'm just going to use my pin now to secure that down, and I'll equally do that round the whole dress so that I don't get any form of shifting or any trouble while stitching the dress down. So this is just me actually using my pin now to secure every part before taking it into the machine to sew. So basically this is what you're going to have. I've gone ahead to actually stitch that down, and it came out so nice and good. And this is basically what the back looks like. So you can see everything is coming out so neatly. So what I'm basically going to do next is to flip it over to the wrong side, that is the back, so that I can go ahead now and stitch the sides together, join every part of it together so that our dress can now be perfectly ready. So I'll just go and do that by 1/2 inches at both sides. So this is basically what we have. So you can see that I've gone ahead to give it a good press, and everything came out so nice and beautiful. So if you enjoy watching this video, please do not forget to subscribe, like, and share this video, and turn on your notifications to get notified anytime I upload a new video. Thank you, and see you in my next video. Bye.